Good morning, everybody. Welcome to all the beautiful people to this Sally Goodwin Ministries platform that contains Church Without Walls, Igero Prophetic School, Activate Her, all of these fabulous communities of people, my goodness, for which there is a lot of cross-pollination, which is amazing. They are all contained, sorry, I'm just checking that I can see everything. They are all contained within this space that is the Sally Goodwin Ministries social media. And so welcome everyone. And it is Friday today, so it is time for this week's episode of Friday Feast. And it's just a good day. It's a good Friday. It's a day the Lord has made. It's all of those things. And famous Chantal, welcome, my lovely. Claudia, courageous Claudia, welcome, my darling. Magnificent Michelle, good morning, good morning. So last night, significant Sonia, good morning. Courageous Conrad, good morning. Last night we had our first, good morning Stu, we had our first Igero Prophetic School in person. Tishka, my lovely, good morning. Beautiful Brigitte, welcome. Our first Igero Prophetic School in-person meeting was last night for 2025. So the school for 2025 is officially open. And last night was our first meeting for 2025, and the school runs for 9 months. So, and we have a brand new venue in a place called Vinboho, Vinboho, Vinboho Guest House, which is in Panorama, which is Durbanville area. Good morning, beautiful Bernadette, welcome, gorgeous girl. We missed you last night, my lovely. Can't wait for the next one when you can be there. So yes, it's a beautiful guest house and conference venue. If anyone is looking to have guests anywhere or do a conference, Vinboho Guest House, it's 28 Eskricha Drive, Panorama, absolutely beautiful. And so that's our brand new venue. So we moved in there last night, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. Heroic, kindly welcome, Tishka. Okay. Tishka's wearing her stretchy pants for this feast. Beautiful, Bronwyn. Good morning, my lovely. So yeah, it was just incredible, and but this morning I'm a little bit tired. Often what happens after, lovely Lucinda, good morning. What happens after those events is that I'm a bit wired that night, and I struggle to actually go to sleep. Joy Allison, good morning. And then, so I'm a little bit tired this morning, a little bit. But this morning we are going to be, beautiful Bertha, welcome. We are going to be learning about the new Hebrew month of Adar, because something I didn't mention at the prophetic school last night is that at sunset yesterday evening, we actually crossed over into the brand new Hebrew month of Adar. Lovely Lydia, welcome. We crossed over into the brand new Hebrew month of Adar. And so today is the 1st of Adar. It is the first of the last month of the biblical calendar and the 6th month of the civil calendar. So it is the 12th month of the biblical calendar, the 6th month of the civil calendar. Yes, brain going too fast, mouth not catching up. Sorry, but there we go. Aurelia, my lovely, wonderful Volna, Tessa, Mama Tessa, good morning. Hanukkah, lovely to see you, my darling. And I felt it was so significant that that prophetic school actually started on the very first evening of because the Jewish calendar is lunar, so it goes from evening into daytime, the very first evening of the month of Adar. Particularly in light of the fact that the month of Adar is known as the month of joy. The month of Adar is known as the month of joy. And so it's not, if you don't feel particularly happy this morning, or, there are things happening. I mean, where are there not things happening that could steal our joy? All around the world, in our own nation, there are things happening that can steal our joy. It's not that. It's Adar is the month of joy, because at one of the most difficult times in the history of the Jewish people, one of the most difficult times in the history of the Jewish people was happening over this, had been happening for a while and was still happening over this month of Adar. And the month of Adar is when Esther stepped up and stepped into who God had called her to be, and brought salvation for the Jewish people in that context then. Lovely Louise, good morning, my darling. So the month of Adar is known as the month of joy, because it is the month where the Jewish people saw that their curse was reversed. So I want you to hold on to that. The month of Adar is the month where the Jewish people saw their curse reversed. The curse of Haman was reversed by the actions of Esther. So let us not discount that. Lovely Lydia, it's your birthday month. Yes, amen. So the month of Adar is the month of joy, and that is going to be your reality, lovely Lydia, in this birthday month of yours. It's just amazing. It's incredible. So we're going to have a look at that. We're going to have a look at the month of Adar and everything that month entails and that month means. But I want to start with, for those of you who have my journaling diary for 2025, journaling, it's a diary and a journal and all sorts of things. And if anybody wants to order these, I still have these in stock, and if you order directly from me, I will give you a special price. So I still have some left in stock, and I need to get rid of them and sell them. And so if you order directly from me, I'll give you a special price for the journal. So we're in March, right? Which today is the last day of February, so tomorrow you will turn the page into March. But we're in March, which is characterized by the daffodil. I don't know my flowers, but I'm assuming that's a daffodil. And a daffodil symbolizes creativity, energy, resilience, forgiveness, and unity. Can you believe it? Unity was one of the things that we really, as a Egero prophetic school tribe, unity was one of the things that I was feeling so strongly for the prophetic school this year, last night, because we have people who are doing the school for the second year. Radiant Renewal, we're welcome, and we have new people as well, and obviously there is unity to be forged in that place. And so the month of March, creativity, energy, resilience, forgiveness. Okay, so yes to all of those things about unity, but I misread the last word, which is vitality. You see, I don't have my glasses on. It's vitality. So all of those whose birthday month, oh Sally, forgive me, my tiredness is, all those people whose birthday month is March, that is yours. My youngest son, his birthday is in March. On the 18th of March, he turns 24. So all of that is for him as well. So I'm going to just read. I'm going to read the very first teaching. There's a teaching attached to every month in the journaling diary. So I'm going to read here this teaching to you this morning, and then we're going to go on and learn more about the month of Adar. So the Hebrew month of Adar runs from the 1st of March to the 29th of March. It actually starts Courageous Conrad, my friend who knows more about these things than I do. Did Adar start at sunset last night, or does it start at sunset tonight? I'm just double checking, because now, what is the date today? I don't even know what the date is today. I think is it the 28th of February today? Okay. We are going into the new month of Adar, whether it was sunset yesterday evening or sunset this evening, and let's just focus on that until Conrad or somebody who knows the Jewish calendar better than I do can pop it into the comments. This is for the month, okay? the Hebrew month of Adar runs from the 1st of March to the 29th of March 2025. And it's very seldom that actually this year is quite different in many ways, where the Hebrew calendar is lining up so closely with our Gregorian calendar. It's that the Jewish months are actually almost superimposed on the Gregorian months. It doesn't happen very often like that, so I find that very significant as well. And this is a verse we all know, Esther 4:14. For if you remain silent at this time, liberation and rescue will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish, since you did not help when you had the chance. And who knows whether you have attained royalty for such a time as this and for this very purpose. Esther 4:14. We all have Esther 4:14 moments in our lives, more than one often, when God gives us the opportunity to step up and do what he is asking us to do, and we get to choose whether we do or whether we don't. And for all of us in our lives, there have been times where we have missed what God has asked us to do. There have been times when we have chosen not to step into what he has asked us to do. That's just true for most people in their lives, in the course of their lives. But there is always this opportunity, or your Esther 4:14 moment, to step up. And so we will, as we get closer to Purim, we will learn a little bit more about Esther and a little bit more about Purim and what that entails. And there we go. My gorgeous Hanneli that gave me these beautiful hankies. Thank you, Lord. So, but before I carry on, can we take a moment? Can we take a moment for these earrings that my gorgeous Milani friend gave me last night? Honestly, can you see them? Africa. And can you see that they're like diamante? So they're little diamantes all around the shape of the African continent. And as I looked at them last night and as I put them on this morning, I really felt the Lord saying that is the glory of Africa is represented in these earrings, and the resources of Africa are represented in these earrings, and that there is a prophetic significance in wearing, because I now have 2 pairs of earrings shaped like Africa, and I want to get more, because I feel like there is a significance in wearing African shaped earrings shaped like Africa right now, because earrings obviously are attached to your ears, and so there is the voice of the Lord is crying out over Africa at this time. The voice of the Lord is crying out over Africa at this time. And when I wear these African earrings as a prophet, I feel like I'm making a prophetic statement that Africa is hearing. That Africa is hearing the voice of the Lord. I literally felt the Lord tell me that as a prophet, as somebody who walks in the office of the prophet, when I wear African earrings, it is a prophetic statement that Africa is hearing what God is releasing over them. So aren't they just absolutely gorgeous? Just love them. So I have 2 pairs of these now, 2 pairs of Africa-shaped earrings, and I really want to get more. Okay, so here we go. The month of Adar is known as the month of joy, and it is associated with the Hebrew letter Kaf, which means palm, as in the palm of your hand. Okay. The Hebrew tribe associated with the month of Adar is the tribe of Naphtali. Purim, or the Feast of Esther, is celebrated in the month of Adar. Purim is always celebrated on the 14th of Adar, which, remember, it starts at sunset. So it starts at sunset on the 13th of Adar, and then it's celebrated the next day on the 14th, which this year means that it will begin the evening of the 13th of March and continue through to the evening of the 14th of March. So do you see how it's just lines up there? So Purim is always celebrated on the 14th of Adar, so it begins the evening of the 13th of March and continues through to the evening of the 14th of March. The Hebrew word for this month, so in the journaling diary, there's a Hebrew word for the month at the front of every month. The Hebrew word for this month is abad. In Esther 4:16, this word is translated as perish. This translation is correct. that Hebrew word abad, it does mean perish. But abad carries additional layers of meaning, such as wander away, lose oneself, be undone, and have no way to flee. And so when we speak out the words that Esther said, and we say, Lord, we will do what you have called us to do, and if we perish, we perish, we immediately assume that means die, that we will perish doing what God has called us to do. And, and that's that, and we take that as to be the only meaning, but it isn't actually. It also means wander away. That if you don't step into what God has for you, will you wander away? If you don't step into what God has for you, do you lose yourself? If you don't step into what God has for you, are you undone? If you don't step into what God has for you, are you left with no way to flee? Because eventually you make a choice, which is the choice. You get choice and opportunity and choice and opportunity and choice and opportunity all through your life span. And then eventually you reach a point where the choice that you've made, the last choice that you've made, is the choice. So is that then when you are left with no way to flee because you've made that final choice? So if you know the story of Esther, then you know that had King Xerxes not extended his scepter, Esther would indeed have perished. However, and listen to this now. However, the additional layers of that word suggest that if Esther had not done as Mordecai suggested, she would have lost herself anyway. It is clear that even though God is not mentioned directly in the book of Esther, his role was obvious, and he had engraved Esther's name in the palm of his hand. So if Esther had not stepped up, she would have lost herself anyway. It is largely due to the story of Esther and the celebration of Purim that Adar is known as the month of joy. The name Adar means strength. The name Adar means strength. And, wait for it, it can also mean fire. It can also mean fire. Esther's strength was in the Lord, and she, without a doubt, walked through her own version of fire to bring forth the salvation of the Jewish people. When you dream with God, according to his destiny and purpose for your life, you will have Esther 4:14 moments when you recognize that you were born for such a time as this. Moments when you have to say, along with Esther, if I perish, I perish, because you recognize that should you not live the vision that you were born for, you will indeed wander away, lose yourself, or be undone. There is always risk. There is always fire. But there is also always a God who has your name engraved on his palm. Isn't that just amazing? Isn't that just amazing? It's just incredible. It's just incredible. We all have moments when we are doing something or involved in something, and there's just this moment where you are just like, I was born for this. I was born for this. And it's moments like that when you recognize that if you do not live the vision that you were born for, you will indeed wander away, lose yourself, or be undone. And so we are in this month of Adar, which means strength and fire. Come on, I love that. I just love that. That is so amazing. Okay, so let's have a closer look at the month of Adar. So the Jewish people call the month of Adar the month of joy, and obviously it was because of the deliverance of Israel out of the clutches of Haman, and because of what Esther did and her sacrifice. So it is called the month of joy. And as I said, it is the 12th month of the biblical calendar. So when we cross over into the next month, we cross over into a new biblical calendar, not a new civil calendar, a new biblical calendar. And obviously these moments are very important when you're crossing over into new seasons, into new years, whatever the case may be. These moments are very important. The 12th month of the biblical calendar and the 6th month of the civil calendar. And it is the month of Naphtali. It is the month associated with the tribe of Naphtali, Jacob's son Naphtali, and the tribe that subsequently originated from him. It is the month associated with the tribe of Naphtali. And it is known as the month to celebrate that your curse is overturned, because the Jewish nation had been cursed by Haman. And then God raised up Esther. And Esther stepped up and risked her own physical life to bring about deliverance for the Jewish people. And the curse was overturned to such a degree that those who were planning on overcoming the Jewish people with war and violence and taking what belonged to the Jewish people for themselves was overturned to such a degree that it was the Jewish people who were given the right to defend themselves, and they defended themselves to such a point that they were the ones that were actually victorious, and they were the ones who landed up appropriating more for themselves. So their curse was not just overturned. It wasn't just that it didn't happen. It was that there was actually an abundance that came their way when the curse was overturned. So if we have things in our life, things in our lives that we feel as though, that there are curses in our lives, there are things in our lives that we just struggle with, that things in our generational lines, or things in our families, or things that we know that need to be dealt with, and we are asking God for ways to see the curse overturned. And then our expectation is that the curse will be overturned and we'll just be at kind of ground zero. The curse is overturned and we just levels the playing field kind of thing. But it doesn't just level the playing field. When God overturns the curse for you, there is an abundance of blessing. There are things that the enemy stole from you, from your family, from your generational line, there are things that the enemy stole that he is then forced to pay back with interest because the curse has been overturned. But notice this, and we'll go into this a little bit more when we learn more about Esther, but I want to emphasize this because I feel like this is something that somebody needs to hear today. Notice this, that Esther stood up, she took her place, and she risked her life, and she did what needed to be done in order to stop the curse that had been released over the Jewish people. Okay, so the curse was reversed, ended right there. However, the Jewish people still had to stand up and war. The curse was ended, it was overturned. That curse was no longer going to happen, but there was still a battle that had to take place around it for the Jewish people to actually receive what was theirs, what God had apportioned for them. So there was victory on the other side of that. Not just victory for Esther because she didn't lose her physical life, but victory for the Jewish people because they got to actually receive more from the Lord than they originally had. So you stand up, say it is you, for example, and maybe it is in your family, maybe it is in your workplace, maybe it is in, your nation, maybe it is in your region, and God calls you to stand up and say, enough now, enough of this. And maybe he calls you to risk your physical life. Maybe he calls you to risk your reputation. Maybe he calls you to risk your position of influence, whatever the case may be. And you stand up and you say, okay, no, this is not continuing like this anymore. And the curse is ended. There will be other people in your family, other people in your region who also are going to have to stand up and warfare for the compensation of that curse, if you can call it that. When God says to the enemy, I'm sorry, but you have stolen, killed, and destroyed in this area over this particular space for long enough now. I have raised up this deliverer. In this case, it was Esther. They are standing up and doing what they have been born to do. They are ending the curse. They are overturning that curse. But now you, enemy, are going to have to repay with interest what you have stolen. So come on, people, stand up and appropriate what the enemy owes you because of what has been stolen, killed, or destroyed in your life, or in your family's lives, or in your generational lives, whatever, in your suburb, whatever it might be. So it's not a passive, the curse is overturned and God has overturned the curse and now he's just going to, pour everything. We have to take a stand sometimes. God calls us to take a stand sometimes, and be okay, all right, enough now. So this is what happened with the Jewish people in the month of Naphtali. And the month of Naphtali, as we have already said, it means strength, and it also can mean fire, because Esther walked through the fire, but God gave her the strength, and she made her whole nation strong because she walked through the fire. So, and it seems very appropriate with all the fires that are going on around us, or have been going on around us right now. Okay, so I want to have a look at the prophetic words that were spoken over the tribe of Naphtali. I want to have a look at the prophetic words that were spoken over the tribe of Naphtali. Now, obviously, Jacob spoke a prophetic word over Naphtali as his son. And then Moses spoke a prophetic word over Naphtali as a tribe. And I want to just have a look at what those prophetic words, those prophetic words say. What can we take from the prophetic words that were released over Naphtali for ourselves, for such a time as this? Okay, so in Genesis 49 verse 21, is the word over Naphtali, which might not make sense when you first read it, but hold your horses, we're going to have a look at it. So I'm reading from this beautiful new, oh my goodness, just my new favorite book. Genesis 49 verse 21 says this: Naphtali is a doe set free. I mean, do you need more than that? This is your month of freedom, people. This is your month of liberation. This is your month of joy. This is your month when you get to celebrate that the curse has been overturned. But this is your month of freedom. This is your month where you claim liberation in the areas that you know you have not yet been liberated. Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns. Now, you might think, okay, what does that even mean? Because if I had been Naphtali and my father had prophesied that over me, I would be, what? What does that even mean, But there is freedom and liberation in that verse. And obviously a doe set free bears beautiful fawns in freedom. From a place of freedom, from a place of liberation. So when you obtain freedom and liberation in a certain place or space, that means that your children, be they biological, fostered, adopted, step, spiritual, whatever, your children, your descendants, they walk in that freedom and liberation. Now, they might need to fight for their own freedom and liberation in different areas, but that area where you have been set free, where you are walking in liberation, that area, that is their victory. They get to walk in that freedom. But the explanation of that is also that says beautiful words. That says beautiful words. Now, let me just get my... So this is what it says in the scriptures. In the scriptures translation, it says this: Naphtali is a deer let loose. He gives words of elegance. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He gives words of elegance. Oh, my gorgeous Julie friend. Oh, one quick moment of absolute appreciation from all of us here in Africa for my fabulous friends Julie and Phil Hepworth, who are originally from the UK, now live in Australia, spend 2 months in Australia and 2 months in Tanzania. And what do? Ladies and gentlemen, they bring fresh water to Tanzania. They bring fresh water to Tanzania. They have a company, an organization called Water is Life. Correct me if I'm wrong, Julie. Water is Life. And they are responsible for digging wells and bringing fresh water to Tanzania, because there are so many places in Africa that are desperate for fresh water. My friend Julie, an absolute general of the faith, an absolute hero for Africa. We in Africa honor you, my friend. Thank you. So, Naphtali is a deer let loose, a deer set free that bears beautiful fawns, or speaks elegant words, or speaks words, beautiful words. Because when you obtain freedom, when you walk in freedom, when you are no longer bound by things, then the words you speak reflect that freedom, reflect that liberation, reflect that space that you are in. And you release those beautiful words, those words of elegance over the people around you. So there is power in words. We all know that. It says that in so many different spaces in scripture, that there is power in words. And Naphtali, as a doe that was set free, walks in that freedom. And with that freedom, not only brings freedom to his generational legacy, but brings freedom by his words. So when you step into freedom and liberation, and you win that battle for your legacy, whatever that legacy, your sphere of influence, you release those words of freedom over others. It is an absolute privilege. It is a privilege. Okay, so that's Jacob's prophecy over Naphtali, okay, in this month of Adar, this new month of Adar that we are crossing over into. And then we turn to Deuteronomy 33, verse 23. Deuteronomy 33, verse 23. Deuteronomy. Yeah. Now pay attention to this, because this is amazing. This is amazing. Water for Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find Water for Africa on Facebook. Go like their page. Right. Deuteronomy 33, verse 23. Of Naphtali he said, this is Moses prophesying over the tribe of Naphtali. Okay, Moses prophesying over the tribe of Naphtali. You, Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of blessing from Adonai, take possession of the sea and the south. You, Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of blessing from Adonai, take possession of the sea and the south. Now, let me tell you a little story. So in the Amplified translation, it says this: of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of the blessing of the Lord, possess the sea of Galilee and its warm sunny climate like the south. The scriptures say, and of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with pleasure and filled with the blessing of Yahweh, possess the west and the south. Isn't this amazing? So this is a prophetic word, okay, for the tribe of Naphtali. Now, obviously, the tribes of Israel cross over into the promised land, right? And they are apportioned land and territory according to their size, according to their positioning, etc. Now, Naphtali wasn't one of the biggest tribes. It wasn't one, it wasn't a Judah or, so it wasn't quite a Benjamin. It was somewhere in between, but the land that was apportioned according to what the tribe did, according to how much they needed, etc., etc. So Naphtali is apportioned land. Now remember what was said there about from the sea to the south. when Naphtali's land was first apportioned, for centuries. Now, what else did Moses say? Satisfied with favor, satisfied with pleasure, in that the land, the portioning of land that was given to them was going to satisfy them with favor, satisfy them with pleasure. However, for centuries, a lot of Naphtali's territory, a lot of if you look at maps and things and the territory Naphtali was given, for centuries, a lot of Naphtali's territory was swamp and couldn't be used. So for centuries, the people of the tribe of Naphtali could actually have been forgiven for thinking that prophetic word has just never come to pass. I mean, honestly, look at the land we have. How are we going to be satisfied with favor here? How are we satisfied with pleasure? This is our land and we have all of this swamp. So for centuries, a lot of Naphtali's land was swamp and it couldn't be used. And then the Jewish people returned to Palestine. So right up through all of this time, the promised land, through the exiles of the Jewish people, through the Jewish people being scattered around the world, Naphtali's land was swamp. Okay, a lot of it was swamp. The Jewish people then returned to Palestine and drained the swamp. So by 1940, it was thriving. 1940. By 1940, that land was thriving. Moses prophesied that over Naphtali. Before Jesus came, only 1,940 years after Jesus had been, did the Jewish people drain the swamp and fulfill the prophecy that Moses gave to Naphtali. By 1940, it was thriving. So just before 1940. By 1940, the prophecy that Moses prophesied over the tribe of Naphtali came to pass in the land. So we have prophecies over our nation. We have prophecies over our continent. And we could be forgiven for looking at what is happening in our nation, for looking at what is happening in on our continent. And we could be forgiven for thinking, you know what, those prophecies, some of them are from years, centuries back. Those prophecies will never. No, do not be so quick. Do not be so quick to write them off, because God doesn't reckon time the way we do. And God knew when Moses prophesied that over the tribe of Naphtali, God knew that centuries later, that territory of Naphtali's was going to be thriving. So don't you look at your family, your generational legacy, your inheritance, your city, your region, your nation, your space that you occupy, your sphere of influence, your continent. Don't you look at that and think, this is beyond. These people are never going to step into the prophetic. No, you keep speaking those beautiful words. You keep prophesying those words of elegance. You keep releasing those words into the atmosphere prophetically over your family, over your cities, over your nations, over your regions, wherever God calls you to release those words. You release them into the atmosphere. They don't have to be released on a platform. They just have to be released over the land. And then you, maybe not even in your lifetime, and that's okay. But those words, God's word, never returns void. If it is God's word from the mouth of the Lord, it never returns void. And He will bring that prophetic word to pass. Our only responsibility is to step into our destiny when God calls us to stand up and speak out, to rise up and do what God has called us to do, and release the beautiful words, release the elegant words. Our responsibility is to step into and claim the freedom and liberation that God has given us, so that everybody who comes after us already has that freedom and liberation. And then to release words of destiny, prophetic words of destiny, so that those words will come to pass. That prophecy did come to pass. And do you know what is even more absolutely incredibly amazing about the territory of Naphtali? Jesus came from the territory of Naphtali. Jesus came from the territory of Naphtali. Isn't that absolutely just the most incredible thing? The most incredible thing. Jesus was born in Naphtali's territory. In Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1 says this: "No more gloom for those who are in distress. Although the Lord greatly humbled the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, he will one day bestow upon them great honor from the Mediterranean seas." I can't read my own handwriting. I wrote it out, so I didn't have to look it up, and I can't read the rest of what I wrote. Go and have a look at that. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1. Okay? No more gloom for those who are in distress. No more gloom for those who are in distress. People, let us claim this in this month of Naphtali, in this new Hebrew month of Adar. Let us claim this promise from Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1. Although the Lord greatly humbled the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, the Lord greatly humbled the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, and Naphtali was positioned on mainly swamp, which they couldn't use back in those days. He will one day bestow upon them great honor. He will one day bestow upon them great honor. Now, when people from Zebulun or Naphtali, when the Jewish people who originated from those tribes, or the Jewish people who lived in those areas, when they read those words or heard those words, Isaiah chapter 9 verse 1, and they heard this thing about God will one day bestow a great honor on those regions that God had humbled. God had had to humble Zebulun. He had had to humble Naphtali. But now he bestows great honor. I wonder what they thought that would look like. I wonder if they thought that maybe they would land up leading. That maybe they would land up being, the bigger tribe, or the best tribe, or the tribe who led, or because often our idea of what great honor looks like is not God's idea of great honor. Our idea of great honor, if God says to you, I know that you have been humbled, I know that you have been brought low, and I'm now going to bestow great honor on you. I wonder, in our human brains, in our flesh, where do we go from there? Do we immediately think, oh, okay, Jesus, you're going to give me a platform. You're going to give me a pulpit or a microphone. You're going to give me a title. Jesus, that great honor, people are going to recognize, that I'm actually this wonderful, great person. Because our idea of great honor, what we think constitutes great honor in worldly terms, isn't great honor in God's terms. So I wonder what Naphtali and Zebulun thought when they heard those words from Isaiah 9 verse 1, what they pictured happening in their lands with their tribes. But what great honor was God going to bestow on them? The honor that he bestowed on them was the greatest honor of all. Jesus. That Jesus came. Jesus originated from the territory of Naphtali. That was the great honor that was bestowed on the territory of Naphtali. Jesus came from that territory. And maybe in our lives, the greatest honor that God can bestow on us is the gift of salvation, the gift of his Son, the gift of Jesus. And maybe, just maybe, that we should see that as the greatest honor. That God saw fit to bestow that gift, that gift Jesus on the world. And we are recipients of the greatest gift of all time, Jesus Christ. The greatest gift of all time, Jesus Christ. The great honor of being a believer, the great honor of following Jesus, the great honor of being molded and shaped by God into a Christ-like person. Isn't that amazing? And don't you all have words, prophetic words that have been spoken over your life? Words from the Lord. Words from the Lord, right? Because it's the word of the Lord that doesn't return void. So it needs to have actually come from the Lord. But don't you all have prophetic words that have been spoken over your life that haven't come to pass? You haven't seen them come to pass. You've had them confirmed. You know that God has spoken them. They've resonated with you. You know that it's something that you're called to. You know, we all have that. We all have words that we've kind of shelved because we just actually don't know whether that's ever going to happen. Because we're so impatient. Because we want it to happen now. We have such an instant gratification way about us, you know. But these words, the words spoken over Naphtali, the words spoken over Asher that I taught on recently, you know, these words took centuries to come to pass. Centuries. Because 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord, right? It says that in Scripture. So don't give up, don't despair, don't be despondent. Just know that God's word will come to pass. It probably won't look exactly the way you think it will look, or exactly the way you think it should look. It will come to pass. And don't be despondent over our nation. Don't be despondent over our continent. Don't sit back and just be like, okay, well, you know what? This is pointless. Just, you know, release those words, release those words, release those words. And then just understand that it's going to happen in God's timing. And in God's timing alone. I love that. I absolutely just love that. I just love that. So, and Barak, Deborah and Barak, who's mentioned in Judges chapter 4, he came from Naphtali. Not one of the most significant tribes, but the man who chose to lead an army with Deborah to overcome the enemy was from the tribe of Naphtali. It's just amazing. It's just incredible. So, one of the things that it's good to note about this month, and I'm going to end with this. The letter of the alphabet that is associated with the month of Adar and the tribe, the letter of the Hebrew alphabet that is associated with the month of Adar is the Hebrew letter Kaf. Kaf. And as I said to you, it means palm. And it means palm as in the palm of your hand. But the full meaning, because, you know, the Hebrew language, absolutely amazing. You know, the Hebrew language that started off pictographic and it's alphanumeric and, you know, so they've got the draw. It's just incredible. There's so much revelation just in the letters of the alphabet. So the Hebrew letter Kaf, it looks like a palm, and it's the palm of the hand. However, in its entirety, what it also means is to remove the mask or masquerade and enter into joy. In other words, lovely people, sometimes, for some of you, the reason why you are not walking in joy, the reason why you are not walking in freedom, the reason why you're not walking in liberation is because you're wearing a mask. And we wear masks for many different reasons. We wear masks because we've been hurt. We wear masks because we don't trust, and some of the reasons that we wear masks are valid. They're valid things that we have been through, which have led us to this point where we feel like we have to wear a mask because we are petrified that people will see us for who we are. For who we think we are. So we wear masks because we suffer from imposter syndrome. We think, well, God couldn't possibly have called me to this. So, so I just wear this mask that looks like I know what's going on, but actually I don't really. I go live here on Facebook, 3 mornings a week, at 7 in the morning. And what I could do is I could pre-record these teachings and make them perfect. Where I get all the dates right and I get all the words right and I read properly and I don't have to look for it in the Bible. You don't have the noise of the fan in the background, or you don't hear the helicopters overhead, or you don't hear I could do that. I could present professionally recorded, perfect teachings to you. I don't, because God has called me to walk in authenticity and vulnerability, which means that I come online in the morning sometimes and I'm so tired, it means that sometimes I wake up in the morning and I say to the Lord, I can't do this on my own. I don't have the energy, I don't have the strength, I'm in so much pain, I can't actually do this, Jesus. And God says to me, I am your strength. And here I am. And I want you to see that I make mistakes. I say the wrong date or forget, whether with the Jewish calendar, did it start last night or tonight, because I'm a real person and I'm not perfect and I don't have it all sorted always. But that is important for us to model. It's important for us to model that. Authenticity, vulnerability, integrity. The church has lost that, and we need to model that. And so this month of Adar, this month of Naphtali, ask God where you are wearing a mask, and tell the Lord that you want to step fully into joy, into His freedom, into His liberation. And if that means that you have to remove the mask, remove the mask. Remove the mask. Remove the mask. It's not doing anything for you. And if you have been called to something and you imposter syndrome keeps, raising up in your face, and the enemy keeps standing in front of you saying, no, please, not you, not you. Just, no. In the beginning, I would say to the Lord, why me? Surely, Lord, there's somebody better than me, prettier than me, younger than me, more fluent than me, who should do these things. And what we often expect is God to say, oh, my sweetheart, oh, my darling. And He said to me, are you questioning the wisdom of my choice? And I was like, no. Well, yes, for a moment, but no, not anymore. Let this be the month that we remove the masks, because they are preventing us from stepping fully into His joy and His liberation and His freedom. And can I tell you something? When you remove the mask, you empower others to remove their masks. When you are just you, just real, just authentic, you empower others to remove their masks, because they know they don't have to be. Okay, there is actually so much more, because Adar is there's so much on the month of Adar. So I'm going to continue with this teaching on Monday morning at 7 a.m. So if you enjoyed this about the month of Adar, join me on Monday morning for Start Your Week with Sally at 7 a.m. in the morning, or just after 7 a.m. in the morning. And we're going to learn a little bit more, because there's so much more about the month of Adar that we need to step into. So I love you all. Bless you all. Have a fabulous weekend. Have an absolutely fabulous weekend. And I will see you on Monday morning at 7 a.m.